What you are about to hear is true horror. These are 3 true demonic horror stories.
So, my husband and I bought our first house. Things got weird quickly, but it took 2 years before it all came to a head. The first thing that I noticed is every morning when I woke up, even though I had tucked all the chairs into the kitchen table, one chair was always taken out from the table and facing down the hallway, which was where all the bedrooms were. That happened for a while, and it took me a minute to pick up on the fact that it wasn't my husband doing it and my husband picking up on the fact that it wasn't me. Then I started to walk down the hallway at night, and I would see the table, the chair facing me, and nobody sitting in it. But in the reflection of the window right beside the table, there was always an old man sitting in the chair. I didn't think anything of it because he didn't seem to creep me out, like timelines passing, whatever. Then one night I'm having a dream, a sleep paralysis dream. So I'm awake, but not really. And I see a shadow, a very tall, 8-foot, very skinny shadow standing and leaning over my husband. He's sleeping. The next morning my husband wakes up. I told him, "I saw the craziest thing sitting over you. Don't mean to scare you, but I saw something." And he was like, "Stop," because I had a dream that I opened my eyes and there was nothing but black staring at me. A few months go by and then we're sitting in the living room. This was a house that was built in the 60s, so we had this big bay window in the living room, and we were on 1 acre, and basically all of that acre was our front yard. And we hear scratching on the front window on the outside of the front window. So both of us are getting uncomfortable and weird. We're like, let's go back to the bedroom. We go back to the bedroom and we lay down, and all of a sudden we hear such a loud bang. We thought that both of our bookshelves fell that were 8-foot tall bookshelves in our living room. We heard both of them fall, and both of our cats went running under our bed. And so we slammed the door. We start kind of like game planning, like, what do we do? What do we do? We're thinking somebody's in the house. They just busted our door down and the bookshelf fell, something's going on. We get some protection and we go out to see what's happening. Nothing was out of place, nothing had fallen, nothing. And we know we weren't crazy because our cats reacted. Then we had a baby and I brought her home, and babies always stare and do weird stuff. But one of my first viral videos was her staring behind me. I had her on my knees and she was looking behind me, just laughing and playing with something behind me. I would say about a month after that, I was rocking her in her room at night. I was fully awake. I was not dreaming. I was not sleepy. I'm in full mom mode. I'm up. Her bedroom looked all the way down the hallway where that chair is facing me, as it has for the last 2 years that we lived there. And as I look up into the hallway, I see facing the corner, looking into my bedroom, is a full-on hoofed, extremely tall, horned demon. I immediately, out loud, start praying. Next morning, I tell my husband I saw something crazy. I'm getting out of here, and he said that he looked over on the monitor at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and he saw something moving around in the bedroom. Mind you, this is when I was rocking her, and the monitor does not face the rocking chair. So I loaded up my baby, we went to a Catholic church, and I got christened. I got a christened cross, a christened blessing. I filled up a whole water bottle and 2 little Tupperware things of holy water. I had one of my Catholic friends come over and bless our home. I walked around dousing holy water and praying over the entire house. I bathed my daughter in holy water. That's how much holy water I got. And then every night before bed, I would bless her head. I would bless every single one of us and every doorway in our house. After that, we never had another incident to this day. It's one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me.
I work a night shift as a police officer, so we get a lot of strange calls. The call I got this night, though, was not anything normal at all. If there is such a thing as demonic possession, this might be the one. I deal with unstable people all the time. I knew something was not right here. So I was working with a young officer and we got a call over the radio that this guy wants his wife taken to the psychiatric center, and he wants the officers to give her a ride. I was not happy. Why couldn't the husband just take her there, I was thinking. I felt like a jerk though after I got there. We pull up to the house. It's a beautiful house in a very nice neighborhood. We knock on the door and an older man opens. He said his wife has been in the psych center for months. They let her go, but she needs to go back and I'm afraid to put hands on her. I don't want to fight her and I don't want her to fight me. I don't want to be accused of hurting my wife. We have been through enough. At this time, I'm really feeling like a jerk. So he starts telling me about her. Said she has been out for a few weeks. She's not eating, she hasn't showered, she's not taking care of herself, and she's not on her meds. She has just been pacing back and forth, back and forth. He said, be careful when you go up there because there's blood on the floor. She's just been dragging her feet on the floor and they cut up, causing them to bleed out. Their son comes out of a room from downstairs wearing a white tank top, exposing tattoos all over his chest. He tells us just to be careful. Please be careful, they keep saying. It was very eerie. As we walk up the steps, beautiful home, I can't iterate how many times how nice this home was. As we come up the steps, there were double doors. And man, it was like right out of the movies. There she was pacing. And she was kind of taking that torque stance. She just tweets as she paces. Her hair is just stringy and matted down, just all matted out, and her skin is very pasty. And she's doing this breathing like, I was freaked out. Then her head pops up and she starts walking towards us. I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? Hey, it's okay. Take my hand. Everything's okay. Let's talk this out, I tell her. Okay, that's not gonna work. And she walks right towards me and then turns and beelines right back in the other direction, dragging her feet, hyperventilating, and her body jerking. I have seen many crazy people, but this was on another level. The officer that I'm with starts talking to her. They are facing each other, and this lady turns her head to look at me. She shallows her breathing, and she's just looking at me. I'm thinking, what the heck is going on here? What is she doing? I felt like something inside her was looking at me. I know that sounds nuts. The son comes up to speak to us. The son says, "Sir, this is nothing." And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean this is nothing? He says, you should hear it at night. I said, what? And he repeated himself, you should hear it at night. This is your mother? You referred to her as it? He said, that's not my mom, bro. I don't know what that is, but that's why I have a big lock on my door. So I tell the other officer that we need to get her out of here. So we get her in the car. Her breathing and demeanor continued. We turned her into the psych center. Her husband was there to walk her in. That was the end of it. We don't know whatever happened to her. But it makes you wonder what is going on.
I've never been one to believe in the supernatural or anything of that nature. I always thought that was nonsense. What happened to me and my son? I'm not sure it's even paranormal. It might be demonic. We just moved into a new house in Madison, Wisconsin. I would notice sometimes, out of the corner of my eye, shadows on the walls. I would hear strange noises I couldn't explain. Didn't think anything of it. For the most part, it was a pretty normal house. One night, I was upstairs in my bedroom folding laundry, and I hear talking coming from my son's room. So I make my way down the hall over to his room, and his door is closed. I hear my son having a full conversation with somebody. Who is he talking to at 12:30 at night? I open the door and look into his room, and he is not in his bed. I start calling his name, looking for him. I look down and see him next to his bed on his knees, crouched down with his head under his bed, talking to someone. "Hey! Who's down there? Who are you talking to?" "I can't tell you." "What do you mean you can't tell me? Who's under the bed?" "I can't say." He will get mad. I run over to the bed and look under. There's nothing there, nobody. What is going on? You know what? Just get back to bed and stop whatever it is you're doing. Several weeks passed, and on a regular basis, I still hear my son talking to someone under the bed, and still, there is nobody there. After a few weeks of this happening, I'm starting to think something is wrong with my son. I decided to take him to a child therapist. The therapist assessed him and couldn't find anything wrong. He told me, "Your son is fine, it's probably just his imagination." Several months passed and my son kept on doing this. One day I was sitting down in the living room with him, talking, and I noticed scratches and bruises all over his body. I asked him, "Where did you get these scratches and bruises from?" He replied, "I can't tell you." I was puzzled and concerned, so I asked, "What do you mean you can't tell me? What is going on with you?" He started crying and breaking down. He was very freaked out. Then he got up and ran to his room. What is going on with my son? I am freaking out. What do I do? The situation was getting worse. Every day the fear and uncertainty grew. I realized we were reaching a breaking point. Something had to be done, but I felt so helpless. Later that night, I'm awakened by my son screaming in his bedroom. I run as fast as I can and go into his room. I find him halfway under his bed. He's grabbing onto the bed frame, and it looks like something is trying to pull him under the bed. I immediately grab him and pull him from underneath the bed. I look under the bed. There's nobody there. This is weird, really weird. "You're sleeping with me tonight," I told him. We go back to my bedroom. He lays down and he falls asleep. Well, I'm just sitting in bed, freaked out. No way I can go to sleep. All of a sudden, I hear,
"Shh! Hey, come under the bed."
I look over, and my son is sleeping. Then I hear it again.
"Hey, come under here under the bed. I need to talk to you."
"No, who are you? Go away!" I yell.
Come on, get under the bed. I need to tell you something.
"No, I'm not getting under the bed." Then the voice started yelling obscenities. I grab my son and we get out of the house. We left that night and we never went back. Still to this day, that house still sits there. I've talked to the neighbors, and since we've moved out, there have been several families that have lived there, and they moved out immediately.